Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is May 18th. On this day in 1926, one of America's most famous women simply vanished. Aimee Semple McPherson wasn't just any public figure. She was a wildly popular evangelist, a pioneer of religious broadcasting, and the founder of the Evangelist Temple in Los Angeles. But on a sunny day at Venice Beach, she disappeared without a trace, triggering a nationwide media storm filled with rumors of drowning, kidnapping, and even a secret affair. Today, we're revisiting the strange and sensational disappearance of Aimee Semple McPherson, a case that captured the country's imagination and remains one of the most mysterious chapters in early 20th century American history. Let's get started. Amy Elizabeth Kennedy was born on October 9, 1890 in rural Ontario, Canada. She was raised in a deeply religious household and showed signs of her future path early on. She would preach to her dolls and organize pretend revivals with her classmates. Her mother, Minnie, was active in the Salvation Army, and her influence left a lasting imprint on her daughter. But as Amy grew into her teenage years, she began to question what she had been taught. When she was introduced to Darwin's theory of evolution in high school, she challenged pastors and even wrote letters to newspapers, igniting public debate. This boldness and her refusal to blindly accept authority would follow her for the rest of her life. In 1908, at a revival meeting, Amy met a charismatic Irish missionary named Robert Semple. She converted to Pentecostalism, married him, and set off to China for missionary work. But tragedy struck quickly. Robert died of dysentery, leaving Amy widowed and pregnant at just 19 years old. She returned to the U.S., married a man named Harold McPherson, and had a second child. But her desire to preach never left her. After a serious illness in 1914, Amy said she experienced divine healing and took it as a sign to fully commit to evangelism. By 1915, she left her second husband and hit the road, traveling across the country to preach at revival meetings. With her fiery sermons, theatrical style, and the embrace of radio, the cutting-edge technology of the time, she became a national sensation. In 1923, Amy opened the Evangelist Temple in Los Angeles. It was a massive 5,300-seat sanctuary that drew crowds from all over the country. She also founded the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel and built one of the first Christian radio stations, KFSG. By the mid-1920s, Amy wasn't just a preacher. She was a full-blown celebrity. But along with all that fame came a level of scrutiny. And by 1926, everything came crashing down. At least for a while. May 18th, 1926 started like any other day. Amy was in Venice Beach with her secretary preparing for an upcoming sermon. She reportedly went into the water for a swim, but never came back. Her disappearance sparked immediate panic. The Coast Guard was called, and volunteers combed the beach. One young man tragically drowned after mistaking seals for her body. The public, her congregation, and the media were all desperate for answers. Some of her followers held prayer vigils. Others held full memorial services. The mystery dominated headlines across the country. Then, 36 days later, Amy reappeared in the middle of the Mexican desert. On June 23, 1926, Aimee Semple McPherson turned up in the town of Agua Prieta, just over the Arizona border. Disheveled, sunburned, and shaken, she claimed she escaped a harrowing ordeal. According to Amy, she had been approached on the beach by a couple asking her to pray for their sick child. When she followed them to their car, they knocked her unconscious and kidnapped her. She said she woke up in a shack in Mexico, guarded by two men and a woman. Over the next several weeks, she claimed she was drugged, tied up, and even burned with a cigar to make her comply. Eventually, she said she escaped by cutting through her restraints with a tin can lid and walking through the desert for up to 17 hours before collapsing near a house in Agua Prieta. When she returned to Los Angeles, tens of thousands greeted her at the train station, possibly the largest crowd the city had ever seen for a public figure. Her followers were ecstatic, but not everyone was convinced. The initial relief that people felt when Aimee returned quickly gave way to suspicion. Some noted how well-groomed she appeared for someone who just crossed the desert. Others pointed out inconsistencies in her story. Rumors began to swirl about a possible affair with Kenneth Ormiston, her former radio engineer who had also disappeared around the same time. Los Angeles District Attorney Asa Keys even launched an investigation. What started as a search for her supposed kidnappers turned into a grand jury probe into whether or not she had faked the entire thing. Over the next several months, 3 grand juries convened. Witnesses came forward claiming to have seen Aimee in Carmel by the Sea, supposedly with Ormiston. One woman, Lorraine Wiseman-Seeloff, even claimed that she had helped orchestrate the kidnapping hoax. But none of the evidence stuck. Wiseman-Seeloff's mental health and changing testimony undermined her credibility, and in early 1927, the DA dropped all charges. Though she was legally cleared, Aimee's reputation was never quite the same. The fallout from Aimee Semple McPherson's disappearance and reappearance was massive. Her ministry survived, but the scandal left a stain that never completely faded. Her loyal followers stayed with her. She continued to preach at Angelus Temple, now with even more theatrical flair. But the media never let the scandal go. To some, she was a devout trailblazer. To others, she was a master manipulator. In 1990, a symbolic court in San Francisco, the Court of Historical Review, revisited her case. The judge ruled that there was no solid evidence to disprove her kidnapping story, stating, quote, "She may not have been a saint, but she certainly was no sinner either," end quote. Tragically, Aimee died in 1944 at the age of 53 from what was ruled to be an accidental overdose of sleeping pills. Even in death, she remained polarizing, adored by many, doubted by others, but undeniably unforgettable. The mystery of Aimee Semple McPherson's disappearance remains unsolved. Nearly a century later, people still debate whether she was abducted, whether she was hiding from scandal, or crafting a spectacle that blurred the line between faith and fame. Whatever the truth, her story captures something very human. The way that charisma, belief, and public image can collide in ways that shape not only one life, but an entire era. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found Aimee's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!